Hi, I'm Rachel Castani, and I am here to invite you to Spiral Dynamics training. It's a more advanced training, and we will be looking at individual development, leadership, and coaching using the Spiral Dynamics framework. I'll be training with my training partner, John Freeman. You can find him at spiralfutures.com, or you can get more information and on the Spiral Learners Facebook group, actually, Spiral Dynamics Learners Facebook group. In March, around the equinox, we're going to be delivering a training which is really more advanced, and it's focused on individual development as opposed to organizational development or societal development. If you don't know what spiral dynamics is, this probably isn't the course for you. I'd advise you, if you're interested. It all started with this article back in 1974 in a magazine called The Futurist. And Dr. Clare Graves wrote this article, Human Nature Prepares for a Momentous Leap, where he proposed, from 20 years of research into human values, he proposed that the psychology of the mature human being is an unfolding, emergent, oscillating, spiraling process marked by progressive subordination of older, lower order systems of behavior to higher order systems as the existential conditions of man's living or life changed. So basically, it's like a meta theory or a framework that says that our values change dependent on the conditions that we're living in, and that we can continue to grow. What we will be looking at in this training is how, when we're wounded in the lower order systems, our growth in that area can be arrested. Particularly, what I'm interested in is the early developmental traumas that occur when we're very, very young in the beige, purple, and red systems, because this affects our autonomy, our attitudes to authority, how we relate to others. The need to belong is paramount. And if we don't have those belonging needs established, and we're not clear about where we belong, then that actually affects not just our relationships, but also the way we behave and show up in organizations or at work or in our culture. So we'll be looking at the individual development piece, wounding, trauma, how that can arrest our development, how that affects us in other arenas. We're also going to be looking at leadership. Kind of the old way of looking at leadership is like a lone hero or somebody who shoots out ahead and shows us the way. But we have different ways of looking at leadership, particularly now at this stage in the evolution of humanity. So we'll be particularly looking at liminal leadership, which is Nora Bateson's concept, which is really about the spaces in between, but it's also about collaborative leadership and how we're as we show up for each other, and we're in the incoherent space, the beginnings of the way forward guide us from the liminal space, and also that we're operating within an ecology, really, and an environment, and that we need to relate to more than just other human beings, like it includes all life and organisms. And relational leadership. In relational culture, we see both our struggles for belonging and our dependency needs as signals that actually point to our greatest leadership contribution. So we'll actually be looking at leadership in quite a different way. And we will also, this is really a training for people who are into personal development. They're on a developmental journey. If you know about other development theories such as Cook-Greuter and Kegan's work, or Richard Barrett's work, you'll be able to, we'll be relating those theories to how they map onto the spiral theory. And we're also looking at coaching. So this is really a training for, if you're into your own personal development and you want to invest in it, come along. If you are a coach or even a trainer or a mentor, but basically you witness or you facilitate other people's development, you'll get a lot of value from this training. If you want to know more about spiral dynamics in more depth and you want the opportunity to explore that with other people who are more familiar with the theory, then yeah, come along. And if you don't know about spiral dynamics, then but you're interested, then I would suggest you go along to. I will post a link actually underneath this to. John Freeman has made a series of introductory webinars. You can also, I mean, if you're really interested and you're a researcher, this is the book, Spiral Dynamics, Mastering Values, Leadership and Change, and that's by Don Beck and Christopher Cowan. I came to Spiral Dynamics back in 2006, and I was taught by Don, courtesy of Christopher Cook, who invited me to the training. I was in a space back then, I would say deep green, and I guess learning about the spiral actually gave me hope, because in deep green you can get quite depressed about the world's problems, and the thing is, you can't solve the problems at the level at which we created them. So nobody changes without a push. We don't just change. Basically, something happens in our environment to cause us to change. I mean, Clare Graves, the originator of the theory, tells us that his data indicated that no one changed unless he had a reason to change. He didn't just change. He had something that pushed him. And the data also indicated that there is a factor of improved conditions for existence involved in the element of change. So we will also be looking at the conditions for change. And there's 6 conditions for change. If we don't have excess energy in the system, we don't have the resources to change. But if we turn towards each other in a more relational culture, we can create the resources for change. So yeah, if you're interested, you can ask a question below, or you can show up in the Spiral Dynamics Learners Facebook group and ask questions there. It's March the 22nd, I think, 2019. And yeah, it'd be great to see you there.